Suppose you woke up one day and all the silver was gone. All the coin shops would be out of stock and the online dealers would be closed. The spot price would be pretty much unchanged and there would be no mention of it in the news. But industry insiders would be able to tell that someone with very deep pockets has entered the market and bought up all the silver practically overnight. This mysterious entity spared no expense and emptied every vault in existence. Is this an imaginary scenario or can it actually happen? Is it possible for silver to suddenly vanish from the markets? This is the question we will explore today. Of all the elements, silver has the highest electrical conductivity. It is also extremely malleable and ductile, and has an excellent thermal conductivity. Therefore, it is essential for the manufacture of electronic devices. Tiny amounts of silver are used in a variety of applications throughout the tech industry. For instance, circuit boards which operate at a high frequency are often plated with silver in order to improve their performance and protect them from corrosion. Conductive inks which are made of silver nanoparticles are printed on lightweight materials to produce membrane switches, wearable devices, and flexible displays. Silver oxide batteries are highly reliable and have the ability to maintain a nearly constant voltage output during discharge. No other material has the exact same attributes, and therefore silver is absolutely crucial for the production of these devices. And yet the availability of silver is far from guaranteed. Unlike other materials which are widely used in the electronics industry, such as copper or silicon, silver is a rare substance. Its average abundance in the Earth's crust is only 75 parts per billion. It is only 15 times more abundant than gold. Effectively, it is even more rare than that, because the annual mine supply of silver is only 7.25 times greater than that of gold. On top of that, the supply of silver is highly dependent on the demand for base metals. Unlike most resources, only about a quarter of the new supply of silver comes from primary silver mines. More than half of the supply comes as a byproduct of the mining of copper, lead, and zinc. If for some reason the demand for these metals suddenly drops, the supply of silver will decrease as well. This will happen regardless of the price of silver, because it is only a small component of the cost-benefit analysis of these mines. To the best of our knowledge, the mine supply of silver has stopped in 2016 and has been in a steady decline ever since. This makes perfect sense, because the price of silver has been stagnant for many years and hasn't kept up with inflation. As a result, primary silver miners have been struggling to survive and weren't able to invest in the discovery and development of new mines. Since these projects take many years to complete, it is unlikely that the silver mine supply will increase anytime soon. All the while, the demand for silver is constantly increasing. According to the Silver Institute, in 2023, industrial users will consume 576 million ounces, a new all-time high. A notable increase comes from the photovoltaic industry, due to the transition to renewable energies, which is promoted by the Biden administration. This means that the shortage of physical silver is inevitable, and that it's only a matter of time before the industrial consumers feel it as well. In this case, large tech companies such as Apple or Samsung will find themselves in deep trouble. Even though the average smartphone which they manufacture contains only a tiny amount of silver, they may find themselves unable to produce them. According to a research conducted in 2019 at the University of Plymouth, an average smartphone contains 90 milligrams of silver. At the current market price, this amount is worth merely 7 US cents. It is unthinkable that a device which costs up to $1,200 will not be produced due to the absence of a material which costs only 7 cents. Such an unfortunate situation will hurt their bottom line, and perhaps even endanger their position as industry leaders. Once the managers of these companies become aware of this predicament, what can they possibly do? Keep in mind that these are some of the most successful corporations on Earth, whose market cap is measured in trillions of dollars, and who are sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars in cash. We should point out that all the available above-ground silver in investment form is estimated to be worth only about $120 billion. Therefore, each of these tech companies has the ability to purchase all the available silver in the world. What we have here is a classic prisoner's dilemma. The managers of these companies can choose to do nothing. In this case, they will continue to consume only as much silver as they currently need, thereby keeping silver cheap and available for everyone. On the other hand, they can also try and grab as much silver as they possibly can, in order to ensure its availability in the future. By doing so, they will also prevent their competitors from purchasing any silver and disrupt their production. This will allow them to become a monopoly in their field. One may argue that tech CEOs are kind and compassionate people who wouldn't dream of doing such a nasty thing to their competitors. But even if that is the case, they will still be fearful that others may do that to them. Therefore, the most logical course of action is to go ahead and buy up all the silver before your competitors get a chance to do that. This almost ensures that a run on silver will eventually take place. Since the price of silver is so low, and since these tech companies are so flush with cash, the temptation to do that is simply too great. Naturally, once the first tech company begins to gobble up all the available silver, the other companies will quickly catch wind and begin to do the same. The result will be a mad dash to acquire as much silver as possible before it's all gone. In the process, they may raid every dealer and every refinery in existence, offering them a price which is well above spot. Since these deals will take place outside of the commodity exchange, it is perfectly possible that they will not even affect the official price. By the time the public realizes what had happened, there will be no silver to buy anywhere. What little will be available will be offered at a much higher price, which would probably be multiples of the spot price. Mainstream analysts would probably laugh at the scenario I've just described. They would argue that although the inventory of investment-grade silver is limited, there is a great deal more silver in the hands of the public, in the form of silverware and silver jewelry. According to some estimates, this amount may be as large as 30 billion ounces. In the event that the price rises, so they say, this silver will find its way back to the market, alleviating any possible shortage, and keeping the price in check. In my opinion, this approach fails to consider the speculative mindset which has been instilled in the public during the past few years. Desperate to protect themselves from inflation, people have learned to hodl assets such as meme stocks or cryptocurrencies. in case the price of silver spikes, even for a short period of time, what are the odds that they will immediately sell their silver? Isn't it more reasonable to assume that many of them will choose to keep their silver? Isn't it reasonable to assume that others, who never owned any silver, will try to get some? Since there is so little interest in silver nowadays, and so few own a substantial amount of it, there is a possibility that the new investment demand will overwhelm any increase in supply due to recycling. In this case, the pullback in the price of silver will only be temporary, and once it is complete, the price will continue to advance. There is another way to try and refute my claims, by arguing that the federal government will never allow this to happen. The United States is supposedly a free nation, in which every company has the right to purchase any legal commodity in any amount that it sees fit. But in practice, it is possible that the federal government is well aware of the looming shortage of silver, and is regulating this market behind the scenes by rationing the amount of silver which every company is allowed to buy. Since all the large tech companies are doing business with the federal government, it probably has enough leverage to prevent them from cornering the silver market. And perhaps this is exactly the reason why the run on silver hasn't taken place yet. But even if that is the case, the US government has no control over foreign tech companies, especially in countries such as China. If Apple or Microsoft will refrain from buying up all the silver, companies such as Huawei or Xiaomi may just do that. I have a feeling that the Chinese government will not prevent this from happening. As a matter of fact, it will be very satisfied to see Apple going out of business because it can't manufacture its iPhones. To be honest, nothing of what I've described today is guaranteed to happen. The precious metals market is opaque, and many of the figures I've presented here are nothing more than estimates. It is possible that the available inventory of silver is larger than we assume, and that shortages will not develop for many years to come. But in my view, the risk-reward ratio in silver is asymmetric. Since it is necessary in industry, and since it's so cheap, it has a limited downside. On the other hand, if there is any truth to my analysis, silver has a tremendous potential to increase in value. Thank you for listening to the Silver Hermit podcast. If you like this content, please donate in the link which appears in the description below. Please subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends and family. Hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I release a new video. Remember, I'm not a licensed financial advisor. This video is intended for general informational purposes only and should not be regarded as investment advice. Before taking any investment decision, please consult with a professional financial advisor who may assess your personal investment objectives and needs.